Well, Schultzy, we're back, mate. 2026 is finally underway. How are you, mate?
Mate, I am quite good at the moment, apart from getting over this virus. If I do cough or sneeze a bit, just forgive me. But mate, we are back better than ever.
Mm.
However, I mean, this is. I think it was. I said it in the short reel. We've done 105 episodes, and the 106 is the first time we haven't made our deadline. So that's not
Yeah,
too
no,
bad.
we just couldn't be done. It was just a matter of logistics. But anyway, so long story short, on New Year's Eve, my wife got bowled over by a bloody, I'm not allowed to say a calf, it was a 250 kilograms heifer, a wiener. So I've got to say, I'm not allowed to say calf. She got bowled over by a 250 kilogram beast, and unfortunately, she broke and dislocated her left elbow quite badly, and she needed surgery in Newcastle last week. Hence the reason I was just bloody unable to be here. So, but anyway, at least I got a decent excuse, and it wasn't even me. It wasn't me being a bitch. It was the problem. It was my wife completely broken.
Wait,
Yeah,
I'm actually going to back that up, and I'm not sure. I might have mentioned this to you in a text message, but when I was young, we had a cattle farm, and I got hit by a wiener. I would have been about Miriam's size in like body size then, because I was just a younger kid. And anyway, I'll tell you what, they pack a punch when they
yeah,
hit you. And I went flying through the air. It was just probably I was just lucky enough not to break anything.
yeah. Well,
But
I
yeah.
think Ian was about 55 kilos ringing wet. So yeah, no, she didn't stand a chance. She thought she'd stand up to it, but it wasn't able to be negotiated with, and that was the end of that. So anyway, but she's all well. I mean, she's pretty hopeless at the moment, but that's as to be expected. So I'm back to my nursing days from 26 years ago when I actually did nursing at uni. But anyway, so yeah, but mate, we're back in, and you're back from New Zealand, so you're back in the land of the living,
I
and
am, mate. Yes, yeah.
yeah,
Back
it's
where the sun comes up and goes down at the normal time.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's yeah, that's quite good. And yeah, mate, it's actually quite funny. And I'll just mention a couple of things because we missed on Friday, and we did get quite a few comments. Damo Duggs was one of the first ones, in fact, and he goes, "What am I going to listen to on the way home now?"
Yeah, sorry,
And
mate.
there was a few other comments of people like, "What am I going to listen to on night shift?"
The police radio. The police
Yeah.
radio, folks. If you're listening to a podcast on night shift, you work in a really quiet station, just quietly. I know what I listened to. I listened to absolute utter chaos when I was on the radio at night shift.
Yeah.
So, so go and proactively find some shitheads and bin them.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
never really had a chance to listen to anything in bloody Catherine night shift, that's for
no,
sure.
that was a show. Yeah, well, Darwin and I used to run both radios, so it was, yeah, there was always something to do.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah. But mate, you've come up with a pretty good little topic for tonight, and it's something I'm pretty passionate about because I did a shit ton of them, as did every copper. But I did a lot of very high end statement taking. So just give us a bit of an intro into why you thought about
Well,
this
mate,
week.
as I mentioned when I did the solo, I'm looking into the incident where 3.5-year-old Lockie Jones was found basically dead in the oxidation ponds in Gore. And mate, I was going through one of the statements, and this is actually of the mother of the child, and I was quite disgusted in like for a high that's a fairly high case when you've got a 3.5-year-old unexplained death found in the oxidation ponds. You need to spend a lot of time taking the detail. I think it was taken about 10 days after the incident, off the top of my head. It was just very poorly done, and it doesn't. There's no continuity in it. I was reading it and just swearing out aloud. I expected far more professionalism. Not knocking some of the other police officers took excellent statements. It was just this particular one, and it was from a senior sergeant. And I
Yeah,
thought, yeah, which is unusual for a senior sergeant to take a statement in the first place, especially,
yeah, very.
yeah. And I just thought somebody of a senior sergeant level should probably be a lot better at taking statements. So, yeah, mate. So it kind of brought out that I thought, well, there's probably a lot of in the Northern Territory. I think we did a lot of statements. I mean, your first shift, you're basically taking statements of, like, you might take, numbers, like, 5 statements or something if there's an incident happen, and you're thrown right in the deep end. I know, when I first saw my first dead body, I was actually not in the police, but I found it up at Thursday Island, and when I went to the police station to make a statement, they had to wait for somebody who was actually a statement taker to take my statement. That was back in the 2000s. So, but in the NT, basically you come in and go, yeah, son, there you go, we'll have a look. Once you type it out, bring it, your probationary officer, you get him to bring it out, we'll check it, go, mate, you missed this, this and this, go back and do that. Whereas I think maybe other jurisdictions, and anybody that's actually listening, just tell us what it's like. And we did get one comment in relation to somebody that was in the NT and went down to, Tasmania. And they were quite, I'd say, probably upset and disgusted about the lack of training in relation to taking statements. And the fact is, one of the acronyms we used to use, or we got trained right from the very start, was advocate. Now, I've got it in front of me because, honestly, all these years later, I as soon as he said advocate, of course I remembered exactly what it was, but I couldn't remember exactly what it stood for. But so it is A, amount of time under observation. How long did the witness have the person incident in view? So D is distance. What was the distance between the witness and the person/incident? V, visibility. What was the visibility like at the time? O, were there any obstructions to the view of the witness? K, known or seen before. Did the witness know, or had the witness ever seen the person before? If so, where and when? A, any reason to remember. Did the witness have any special reasons for remembering the person incident? Was there something specific that made the person incident memorable? T, time lapse. How long has lapsed since the witness saw the person or incident? So, and then E, error or material discrepancy. Are there any errors or material discrepancies between descriptions in the first and subsequent accounts of the witness? Which is, to me, that last one is very, very important, and I trained my probies, question the victim more than you do the offender, because if there is something that's not consistent, hammer them on it straight away, because we need to know the truth. And sometimes it could be a lapse of judgment or a lapse of memory, but sometimes you really need to narrow down, mate. So, mate, I'll let you kick off. You did a lot of statements in your career, like probably most people in the NT, but you did a lot of higher end ones as well. So, mate, you want to kick off?
So it's funny we're talking about statements, because as coppers we sort of skim over it. It's not something that, it's just assumed. Okay, we've got an incident. Obviously we have to, we're hunters and gatherers. We hunt down criminals and we gather evidence. So the very first thing you do to gather evidence is actually get the accounts of people who have witnessed what's actually occurred. So a statement is extremely vital. I would even say without a statement you don't have an offence, and therefore you don't have an offender, unless it's something you've witnessed yourself, in which case you are the witness and it's a Crown, you're the complainant, basically, as a police officer, that is. And that really only exists in public order, traffic, things like that, where basically the old throwaway line was the victim is the Crown. It's an offence, normally a very minor offence, and not against a person or a company or something similar to that. So without someone saying I didn't give a person permission to do this, well, basically you can permit people to do up to but not including death or serious harm. So not including medical procedures, I might add there, but basically, if you can allow someone to punch your head in, hence the reason boxing exists, they're assaulting each other. If they did that to some random in the street who didn't want it done, then that is not an offence. So basically, what you need to do is you need to establish the facts through gathering information from people, and not just obviously the people's accounts, but also the physical evidence at the scene and all the rest of it. The reason they're so critical is because statements they provide a couple of different things. Statements provide the account of a person that has potentially witnessed some kind of offence or some kind of incident that may have a number of offences involved. So as a result, there's a forensic matter to that we need to, and forensic just means in relation to the law. So we need to question that person in such a way that we get information that can then form points of proof to prove in court beyond reasonable doubt that a person has committed an offence. Obviously, humans are fallible. To be human is to err. So we need to then ask other questions that really express how that evidence is sufficient and is reliable, and that's done by what you just said, that advocate. So I saw this. Okay, so tell me, how far away were you? Was there any obstructions? All that sort of thing. So what made you remember it? As well, I've never seen anything so violent in my life. I was terrified. So that's really good evidence to show how a person felt at the time, and it adds reliability to the evidence. So not only are we providing a person's account of what they've seen, we have to show through that statement that the evidence is sufficient, reliable, admissible, which means it's actually lawful and able to be used in court. And the example there is that, well, no, little Johnny told me that this happened. Well, straight away, that's hearsay. You didn't see it with your own eyes. You didn't hear it with your own ears. You're getting information off somebody else. So that's hearsay. It's inadmissible in court. So not only are we getting a forensic account of what occurred from a person, understanding the psychology of people and extracting that information to the best of our ability, we're also, especially in investigative, like high-level investigative matters where we don't necessarily know who did this, we're gathering what we call further lines of inquiry. And I've spoken about this in previous podcasts. So not only are we getting the information and the evidence from the person involved, we're also finding out who else was around and where else we may be able to get further evidence to support their account. Obviously, if you can get a lot of statements from different people who are disinterested in each other, so a crowd of people who don't know each other and they'll provide the same account, well, straight away, that's quite strong evidence. That's providing many different, they're not colluding. I don't know who those other people are. Got no interest in what they know. This is what I saw. That really strengthens that reliability for that evidence. So there's a reason that statement taking, and the old throwaway line from the old crusty senior connies was, just glorified bloody non-uniform wearing statement takers. And it's like, yep, no worries. But there's a shitload in a statement. So I used to be pretty passionate about. I started off a bit slack. I got clipped a few times as a junior copper, probably because I'm ADHD, just want to get back in the car and drive lights and sirens somewhere else. But as I got a bit older and started to see the big picture, I really got involved in getting good statements, and I used to encourage others to make sure you cover these points and think about it very logically. Understand that we don't know the outcome. We're discovering the outcome through the investigation process. Hence that term that I like to use. We are disinterested in the outcome. We are simply going to provide a report that says what happened. And that report may or may not prove to us or give us what we call that old prima facie case, where we think, well, on the face of the evidence we've gathered, this person has committed an offence, and therefore we can allege certain offences against them and charge them with those offences and put them before the court. So statement taking is critical. And I think we can go through how we used to practically take statements in a minute. But what's your thoughts on what I've said there, mate?
Yeah, mate. Yeah, exactly. I mean, mate. You hit the nail on the head. Statements are so important. They're basically most of the time they're your best evidence. Some forensic evidence and all that sort of thing. But statements just tell the story, and you've got to make sure when you're taking a statement, you're telling the story, and it's as accurate as you can get it, as a witness can remember it. So sometimes you do have to take time to jog their memory. You'll have different witnesses. I've had some which basically go in chronological order, and they will give you the whole in detail, in like really in depth, and you're just going, wow, like I hardly had to have any input whatsoever. And then you have some. I did one on a DV once, and she was that drunk. Basically, the statement stated that they bought a box of alcohol, they drunk it down on the riverbank, and then he hit me with a crate, a fire stick, or a brick. I can't remember which. The next thing I remember is the police showing up. That was basically the statement. I thought, well, there's no other witnesses. This one's stuffed. He pleaded guilty. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. But and so you go from one end of the spectrum to the other,
Mm.
and it depends. Some people are just better witnesses. Some people just don't have as good a memory. It's yeah. But with the ones that don't, you've really got to spend the time and extract that information, and just try and put their mind in that situation. So make them think back.
Mm.
We've done the thing where you go from head to toe, or you go, head to toe, but then go toe to head,
Yeah.
just to make them reverse and make them think more detail into it.
Yeah.
So, mate, I just thought actually and I can't remember where you said we were going now, but also probably talk about the types of statements you can take.
Yeah. So what I was thinking is we'll just basically go through and how we actually would construct a statement from somebody. And people who aren't really in the know would think, oh, the coppers just make you say this and they trick you and all the rest of it. Well, there's no tricks, because you got to remember in a court is an adversarial setup. There's a prosecution and a defence. So as a result, you've got a prosecution that is trying to prove a matter, and you've got the defence that is going through everything with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, make sure everything is admissible, is reliable, all the rest of it. So the only way that you can take a reliable statement as a police officer or detective or whatever else is to make sure that you use techniques that allow the person to provide the information, but you don't actually provide any information yourself. The example there was we used to start off with the three, and I think I've spoken about this before, but we used to open with the acronym TEDS. Tell me, explain, describe, show me. So there's nothing in there that I can possibly prompt from me. I've got no input. Tell me why you are here today. You've obviously reported an incident to the police and you're sitting here with me. Tell me why you are here today. Oh, because I just watched that bloke get bashed out the front of the pub. Whatever else. Okay, no problem. Tell me more about that. In as much detail as you can. Can you go through what happened from the start to the beginning? Tell me what happened. And then you listen. It's all about that active listening. You give them silence and let them speak, because there is nothing that I can add to this. I have got no evidence to add. Let them go through and provide all that evidence and all that information. And what you're doing is just letting them talk it out. And while you're doing that, you're taking notes about what we call topic boxes. So obviously when a person tells a story, they might be a little bit heightened. They're going to go through and they're going to just say things, and there's going to be filler words all through it. But they're going to throw out a few gems as well. Well, we went up to the pub, and as we went to the front door of the pub, I saw this big bloke come out, and he did this. Well, straight away, I've got three topic boxes. The pub. Which pub? Where? Tell me the name of the pub. Where exactly is this pub? You said you went to the front door. Tell me exactly which is the front door of this pub, because what I'm doing now is expanding the information and getting potential lines of inquiry, because I don't know a pub in Australia that doesn't have a bloody CCTV on the front door, especially in a big place, in a bigger centre. I saw this big bloke. Well, you beauty. Now I've got a person, so I want a description of that. So he's a topic box, but I'm not going to interrupt yet. I'm going to let the person talk it all out, and then when I come back in again and they've told their story basically, and I've exhausted what they can say in what we call their first recall, we then go back, okay, and we then basically repeat their words back to them, and repeat their words. If they say something like, I saw this big fucker come out the front. All right, you said you saw this big fucker. Describe that big fucker to me. And what do you mean by a big fucker? A big bloke, like a real big dude, angry-looking bastard. What makes you think he was angry? Oh, because his face was doing this. And describe exactly what you mean by that. So you can see how you can really break down just using that tell me, explain, describe, show me. And then you sort of move on from that. And when you really need to get down to the nitty-gritty, you can say who, what, when, where, why. Use that pretty well-known acronym. But once again, these are not closed questions. We're not asking yes or no answers here. And we're certainly not making suggestion. Oh, so that big bloke at the front, he was wearing a black shirt and white pants, wasn't he? Well, yeah. No. Tell me exactly what that man was wearing. He was wearing white shirts and black shorts. Okay, so you said he was wearing white shorts, black shirts. Just describe as best as you possibly can exactly what that clothing was like. And then you can give them little techniques, and that's where you said the head to the toes, toes to the head. He goes, you can say things like, I want you to close your eyes and imagine seeing that person. So get that image in your head again. And I want you to start at the top of that person's head and describe in as much possible detail as you can everything you can see from the top of his head to the bottom of his shoes. And then you let them do that. And then if you're just really trying to extract information that might be a bit abstract, that's where we reverse it and get their brain to operate slightly differently. And we go, now what I want you to do, and this might seem strange, but I want you to explain exactly, so describe that person to me again, and I want you to start at their shoes and work your way all the way to their head. Picture that person and describe them as best as you possibly can. Take your time. And then they'll go through and you'll see them think, and it changes up the way the brain thinks, and it might actually activate different parts of the brain and enliven a bit more memory. But once again, we're not introducing any information to that person that would make them think anything different from what they've already seen and detected with their own senses, being eyes, ears, mouth, nose, and touch. So the whole idea of a statement is that you must understand that I don't give a shit how well you can speak. You can't possibly provide any information as the police officer, as the statement taker. You must let this person provide their information. And the way you do that is just by those techniques we were talking about, that big open-ended questioning, framing. It might even be that, all right, I want you said to me that you arrived at the pub, you went in, you sat down in the pool room, you were watching this, blah, 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 blah. What I want you to do is tell me everything in as much detail as you possibly can that happened from the moment you sat down at that seat until blah. So now you've put them in a frame of reference where they really need to focus on one particular part of their story, and it really keeps them in tune and going through the information they need to provide. So it's not that coppers, verbal people, or carry on. I've got no doubt that's happened in the past, especially when things weren't recorded and all the rest of it. But when done like this, and especially with child forensic interviewing, which I can probably cover a bit more in a minute, you are literally providing the evidence from the person presented on a platter for the court. And as long as you remember that you're merely the waiter taking the meal from the cook to the person eating it. You have no influence on any of it. You just need to extract the best story that you could possibly get from that person, the best information, to the capability of the person providing the statement, I might add. So if they're hopeless, that's all you've got. There is nothing more you can add. You then take that information and you present it through in a prosecution file or a brief of evidence.
Yeah, yeah, mate. It's So one of the things also, so mate, I just made a quick note there. The other important thing when you're talking to witnesses, if you go to an incident, even if you're back at the station and you've got them all lined up, never let them tell their story in front of another witness, because that can influence what the other witness will tell you. You can put ideas. The memory is like a freshly laid snow. You can impact it. You can put a footprint there, and the person will think that that's what they saw or that's what they heard. So that's one of the most important things. I have actually arrested somebody once for intervening when I've spoken to her and I got her details, and she kept on coming in when I was at this incident and interjecting in when I was talking to another person, getting what they saw. And she did it 3 times, and I gave her a fair warning, and said, "No, that's it. You're under arrest," and put it in the cage, because I did not want the basically their account contaminated.
Yeah.
So it's and be strict about it. Police, you have the power. That is hinder police.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You have the power. Take charge and do that sort of stuff. Some people thought it was a big call, but it worked out well.
You make a very good point there about how other people can interfere with people's recollection, and sometimes that can come from a position of care and a position of responsibility. The worst offenders I ever found for interfering with a witness's statement were parents, especially mums. Not, hey, taking my hat off to your mum, love you. Mums love mums to death. But mothers feel very caring and very protective of their children, and they will start saying stuff to the kid that's contaminating the evidence. So we used to go, "Mum, you need to wait outside because I'm going to interview the child. The child's perfectly safe, but I need to know exactly what's in their head, and there's nothing in your head that you can add to this story. So I will extract the information the way I need to know it." And I do it nicely, because quite often, if a kid's witnessed something or been the victim of something, parents are often very heightened and they want something done. But the fact is, you still have to get the evidence, and I can't have mum interfering. The second worst offenders, God help them, were corrections officers. Taking statements in jail, and you'd have a corrections officer there just as because the person's still in the custody of the prison, so they're being escorted by a corrections officer, and they might say something, well, yeah, them pig bastards did this, blah blah blah, and the corrections officer couldn't help himself. Oi, don't speak like that. You got to be. It's like, hey, shh. I don't care what he says. Only words. If he starts throwing hands, well, I'll probably get a few in first, but then you rip in as well. But no. You're not here to influence the statement. So, and look, I'm not taking away from mums, and I'm certainly not taking away from screws. But I found them bad for interfering with trying to interview somebody. So the other thing that we always have, and I think it's all over the country now, is a lot of people, you're entitled to have a prisoner's friend or basically a support person sit with you while you're being interviewed. Not always. There'll be security reasons why that can't occur. And it's got to be an appropriate person. Can't be a co-offender, for example. So, so basically we used to get we used to give them a really good briefing saying, look, you're here to help them and you guys can talk, but you've got no input into this. Normally it was an actual interview, but there's no input here. We would have quite often we'd have people support people while they're giving a statement, but we were really strict on them. You cannot provide me any information. I'm going to ask difficult questions here. You're here purely as a support person to the person I'm talking to, but you're not a witness. I'm not interviewing you. You're not allowed to speak to me and provide evidence. Your word is not what I'm here for. And you could do it well and just get them to understand exactly what was going on. So, a statement. Statements are very critical and they serve a lot of different purposes, but it's one of those things that's overlooked. I'll get a quick statement. It's like, well, make sure you get a good statement. I don't really care about a quick statement. I want a good statement. Yeah. The beauty as well, and we're talking from the territory point of view, I know a lot of other jurisdictions have it as well, where you can take a notebook statement. So literally, I said, he said, I said, he said, I said, she said, whatever it is. You can get people to then declare at the bottom that everything I've said here is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, and get them to sign that, so it becomes a lawful statement. A lawful statement is actually a defined thing in legislation, so it's important that you follow the process and the legal procedure that's required around a statement that's going to be presented as evidence. And that's why there is also more to a statement than, say, a TV interview or an interview that we do on this podcast. Yeah. Quite often we use interviewing techniques with our guests, but we're providing entertainment. We're not providing legal documents to go to court. Yeah. So as a result, we can move away from those rules a bit and provide an entertaining product. But yeah, it's very important that in a statement that everything is done correctly by the law, because if things aren't done procedurally correctly, they are no longer admissible in court, and that's where defence lawyers go through things with a fine-tooth comb and make sure that the police have done everything correctly in terms of process. So that's why there is a lot more to a statement than people really think. Yeah, definitely. There was also a couple of points there that I thought, if you are taking a statement and they start making admissions to an offence, you can caution them then and there. That's happened plenty of times. Don't be afraid to do any of that sort of stuff. And mate, I thought we might just move into also. Sorry, mate, I'm just going to make a comment on that because that's a good point. Yep. So with that, and that's happened heaps of times, where all of a sudden you're starting to go, you're admitting stuff here that is actually incriminating you, and that's where I'd cut them straight away. And don't. A lot of coppers get worried about what you can and can't do. Just explain exactly to the person you're talking to that your words, and I used to use very, very basic English. I know that everyone sort of heard TV shows where you're not obliged to say anything. Anything you do say can and will be recorded in evidence and may be used against you in court. Well, that is kind of a lawful spiel, but it's not plain English. So I used to like to explain that to people really clearly in plain English and go, you're telling me things that make me think that you may have committed an offence. I'm now going to caution you that I'm going to record what you're saying to me, and I might use that against you. Your words that you're using right now may actually get you into trouble, and therefore you need to understand that if you don't want to say anything to me, you don't have to say anything that may incriminate you in court or may get you into trouble. And I'd even go further with people who might be, LLN, so literacy, language, numeracy issues. I might even say to them, I can record your words as evidence that might get you into trouble in court. But in Australia, you don't have to say anything to the police that will get you in trouble. So if you think if you know something that might get you into trouble, you don't have to say that to me.
Yeah.
And that's just providing complete procedural fairness to the person. It wasn't common. Quite often you're talking to a victim or a witness when you're taking a statement. You've normally got an inkling about who's guilty of what. But you mightn't know, especially in an investigation. But yeah, the caution part of things is a bit of a side act. It's not really statement taking, because that's to do with the person who is providing evidence, not necessarily providing their version of events for something that we're alleging against them, which is an interview, which is a totally different thing. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because it's a really good point. You can use very basic words to explain someone's rights to them.
Yeah, that's right. And also, like, just on another point, when you're finishing up on the conclusion of a statement, make sure that they understand that any false information they provide can basically be punished by imprisonment or what else?
No, it's imprisonment or a fine, yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
basically, you're not allowed to lie in a statement. So if you're going to provide me a statement, it has to be the truth. And if
Yep.
I prove later on that you've lied in this statement, you can actually be arrested for that, or you can go to court for that. So, or you can commit an offence, basically. And yeah, that's important too. That's part of the process at the end of the statement.
Yep, yeah, that's right. And and you don't have to say it word for word. You can, as long as you get the information across that they understand exactly what you're saying. Because when we were dealing with a lot of Indigenous people, if you actually read out what was at the end of the statement, they go, "Huh?" There you go.
Yeah.
So you go, "Is that a true story? You promise that's a true story? There's nothing, no lies in that one." And you change your accent and all that sort of thing, and they would say, "Yeah, no, that's a true story." So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, that true story, that one, true God. I remember
yeah,
that so many times. Nah, that's proper true God. That one, that's exactly what happened. That one there, look, and we used to get that all the time.
yeah,
And it was just very important to explain those things in the language that's understood. It's just communication. It's irrelevant. It could be that I've taken heaps of statements with interpreters, and
yeah,
I've gone through and even explained to the interpreter, this is the information I need to get across to this person. It doesn't matter how you say it, but I need you to be able to confirm back, and to, especially when using an interpreter, you need to let them know that another interpreter will listen to this and provide information to defence or to the court that you have explained this correctly. So
yeah,
I'd take my time to explain that to, especially in a serious matter, explain that as best I could to an interpreter to make sure that they get that information across. I tell you what, doing a statement with an interpreter is fucking hard work, just
yeah.
quietly.
It
Like,
is.
statements are hard work at the best of times. When there's a bloody language barrier, you almost go, is this a waste of time? Like, is this,
Yeah,
I could poke holes in this, there's a lot of, it's not just a language barrier. There's different ways of expressing things that can't necessarily be translated properly. So, there's legal terminology that you might use that doesn't necessarily translate correctly to another language. So, and that be an Indigenous language or an overseas language, it doesn't matter. Mate, far out. That made for a long day. If you're
yeah.
dealing with interpreters, Jesus Christ.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and look, just another point that I remember too. Sometimes there will be two of you taking the statement as well, especially in high level cases like murder and all that sort of thing. Because when you're also taking the statement, your corroborating member will also pick up stuff that you miss because you're trying to run that statement. So for bigger cases, I know we did it in the I know it was me and Benny Liebold did it in the that one that no, I can't even remember what
Couple of
was
homicides. Yeah.
yeah
Old Street.
yeah, that's it. And
Yeah.
so and that's there was a couple of things that Benny didn't pick up on because he was leading the investigation or leading the statement, and I was listening and taking down notes, because when you're running a statement, you can miss things as well. So
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you do interviews, that's why you have two people in an interview.
Mm.
However, this was at this stage it was just a witness statement. So
Yeah.
yeah,
No, and that was quite often the case. You think of a shop stealing, quite often it'd be a general duties copper with their notebook, basically taking a handwritten I said, he said statement that takes about 2 minutes. I work at this shop. I'm employed by this company. My name is this. This is my responsibility. I'm authorised to provide a complaint of theft on behalf of my company, which is all covering off on the fact that we've got an offence. And then it's, what did you see? I saw this man come in. He walked in, he took a bottle of rum, he looked at me, he smiled, and he walked out the door. I told him to stop. He kept walking. I then called the police, blah, 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 blah. And you might go, okay, so tell me, just describe him to me. Yep, he'll give a brief description. Tell me a little bit about the shop. Is there any more evidence that we could gather? Yeah, we've got CCTV here, bang, bang, bang. Yep, no trouble. So are you happy now that you're handing me the correct CCTV that comes? So we're incorporating their statement into the fact that we've now got physical evidence attached to that statement. It's brought to our attention by that statement. And then, did you give that person authority to take that rum and walk out the front door? No, everyone who comes in here is expected to pay for their rum. That rum bottle's worth $42 and he walked out the front door without paying for it. No problem. I've got the offence of shop stealing. However, if I've got a high-level sexual assault that's got complexities to it where I might have an offender who's saying, no, it was consensual and all the rest of it, there's a hell of a lot more to that. We're going right into detail. Do you know this person? Tell me any previous dealings you've had with this person, blah, 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 blah. And you even have to half reassure them as you're going. Say, now listen, I'm going to ask some questions that I need to prove that what you're telling me is, there are certain requirements to provide sexual intercourse without consent, which is what you're alleging. Now, at any stage would this person have known that they had any consent to do what they did? And that's more covering off at the end. But the other problem with that is we need to ask some extremely dirty, down in the weeds questions
yeah,
to prove points of proof. Because, excuse me if you bloody got your kids in the car or something, but something like sexual intercourse without consent, sexual intercourse is defined. There is a legal definition of that. Without consent is defined. There are definitions in law that you must meet. And basically, you've got to ask, oh, then he raped me. Tell me exactly what you mean by raped. Or, he raped me. Describe exactly what he did that would constitute in your mind a rape. Well, he stuck this and blah, 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 did this and stuck it here. Okay, so you said he stuck this. What do you mean by this? Well, his penis. Okay, so tell me exactly where that got stuck. You said got stuck, so I'm using their words back to them. And what I'm doing is extracting the dirty detail of exactly what went on. And it's uncomfortable. It's
yep,
uncomfortable to talk to a person with this, but you have to get the evidence.
yep,
And this is
yep,
where there's a hell of a difference between, he pinched the rum and ran out the front door and the bastard's not allowed to do that. Yep, no worries. Thanks, mate. You're happy to go to court if you have to, blah, 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 all that sort of thing. Whereas now I'm asking extraordinarily personal questions of a person who's been through a very traumatic event, but I have to because I need to provide that evidence to the court to prove beyond a reasonable doubt this person's guilty of an offence that in the Northern Territory at least, and I'm pretty sure everywhere else, if they're found guilty, is life imprisonment.
yep,
So there's a lot to it. So, and that's where you really need to know. You can't just go into these things untrained and not knowing exactly what you need. Like, people will go, oh, then he raped me. Well, okay, yeah, what's rape mean? Well, everyone knows what rape means. So, no, 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 no. Tell
yeah.
me exactly what he did or she did or God knows, whoever. So that's where that really high-level statement taking really comes into it.
And it also comes into the person taking the statement. They have to be probably fairly well trained. And also you don't have to go into this thing that women take statements from women victims of rape.
No.
Some women will prefer actually to speak to a man. And I've been requested once where she didn't actually like the female police officer and
Yeah.
asked me because I was there. I was part of the team that went in and helped her. And she was fine, but you've got to be considerate, but you need to go into in-depth detail. And
Yeah.
like you said, you need to know every single intricate detail. And you explain to them. You sit there and go, look, it's horrible. I know you're hurting,
Mm.
all this sort of stuff. But for us to get the best possible result here, we need to know this information.
Yeah.
So,
And that's where information behind the statement even comes into it. You have to build a rapport with this person that
yep,
allows them to feel comfortable to be able to just say things to you. Like you're going to get them to tell things to you that they wouldn't tell their most intimate partner, potentially
yep,
out of embarrassment. You need to build a level of rapport with that person that they feel comfortable and honoured and respected enough to be able to provide that information. And you've got to be bloody honest with them and say, listen,
yep,
this is going to court. We have to, if we're going to press charges against this person for what they've done, and this person deserves to go to prison, we need to get this information. But then you also need to be able to provide that support to them to allow them to have the confidence to be able to do that. So, mate, sexual offences were where interpersonal investigations really came to the fore. That was, I've said before plenty of times I never had to witness child abuse material, but I've been involved in child sex offences, and I've certainly been involved in plenty of adult sex offences. And it's mate, no two are the same. That they're so different, but they're
I'm just going
the
to throw in
offending.
there investigating, Damo.
Yes,
Involved in
investigating, mate.
investigating.
Yeah, no, not known as an offender. No, not my thing. No. So yeah, I like 'em my age and happy to be there just quietly, but
Yeah.
but it's yeah, no, definitely a really really hardcore interpersonal investigation when you're coming to that really intimate style of offending, and they are a very rewarding investigation. And the reason I used to, no, enjoyment's not the word, but used to get satisfaction from those investigations was watching the offender crumple in court when they got a hell of a slug of a sentence, because sex offenders used to get bloody good sentences in the territory. And really, we used to get disappointed a lot by the sentencing in the territory, and everywhere's the same. But I tell you what, I walked out of court a few times, had a couple of sex offenders get 10, 15-year sentences, and I walked out going, yes,
Yeah.
gotcha. Like, gotcha, boy. And it was bloody satisfying. So, they're a very hard investigation. They're very draining.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they used to reward you in court. And then seeing the satisfaction of that element of the healing of the victim, well, wow, the courts took my word and they bloody slammed that prick. It's like, yeah, bloody oath they did.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was good.
And it's so important in those cases to dot your I's and cross your T's.
Oh, yeah.
They will get thrown out in an instant if
Yep,
you
and if
fuck up one bit.
you've gained the trust of a person who's told you horrendously intimate things about what's occurred to them, and then all of a sudden, because of something you've stuffed up, they get thrown out of court. That person will never trust police ever again. Like it's it's a hell of a thing. It's
Yeah.
really really important to know what you're doing.
Yeah, yeah, mate,
Mm.
definitely. Also, like another important point is there's also a lot of different ways to take statements. You've said the notebook. We used to use our notebook even on traffic offences. I said, they said, or he said, she said, or whatever. And then you sign off on it. But there's also then you got your handwritten statement, which we used to do out in the field a lot of the time. And I will mention now, one of the things I did notice about this investigation into Lockie Jones, a lot of them were at the station but handwritten and then later typed out. That could be due to computers not being available and all that sort of thing. However, I was always one, if you're back at the station, use a computer. It's far more time saving. And it just looks more professional, especially for a job like that. You know, yeah. If you're even if you're out in the street, get them to come into the station. But in saying that, and then you go to your audio, or you go to your type statements. So you get them into the station, or you take a laptop out and do it out in the field. But then you need a printer so they can sign it. It can be quite difficult. But then the easiest and quickest way is audio or video and audio. So that's what we moved into. We've already spoken about that. How later on in our careers, I started doing it out bush, and all my statements, I don't think I actually typed one after that. All of them were done. I would do the 140 caution on my phone and then send the file to my work computer.
Yeah.
And I'd say, and the 140 caution, I would sit there and ask them how they were feeling. Are they happy with the way police have treated them? All that sort of stuff covers your ass.
Yeah.
So they can't, if they come back later and go, oh no, he beat the shit out of me. Well, hold on. I've got you sitting there telling me at the time that you were happy. Did I do anything?
Yeah.
No. So,
And
because
poor old
remember
Schultzy
that.
the dinosaur showing his times here because now
Okay.
everyone's better than him. But old body
Yeah.
worn came in
Well,
after your time.
yeah,
You
well,
were ahead
that's
of your
true.
time there. So now body
Yeah.
worn covers all that. And there's
Yeah.
legislation in place, and it's been in place in the NT for a long time, where audio, video statements could be taken, and they were by far the most superior form of
Oh,
evidence.
yep.
I mean, other things were that we had to get written or verbal consent, and that consent had to be proven to take photographs of a person's injuries. Well, we'd
Yep.
do that straight away on a video and go, "Are you happy that I'm recording this? There's a video of you playing right now. Are you happy that I record your injuries for evidence purposes, especially domestic assaults and stuff like that?"
Yep.
And the body worn
Yep.
just recorded it all. And you've got not only you've got the statement, you've also got the consent to have those photos taken or those images taken, all wrapped up into one. So, yeah, audio, video, and especially body worn camera taken statements, as long
It's
as they are done correctly, there is a very strict process with them, and that's all about explaining to a person on video or audio. They understand that this is a formal statement. Anything that they say that is untrue may constitute an offence, or it may constitute an offence to say anything in a statement that is untrue. That all
yep.
has to be covered. Basically, you get them to sign that statement with their words at the end of it. And as long as you covered all that, and you got to the point where you're so across it that you did it so often, you covered that
Yeah.
base pretty well.
Yeah.
It was excellent evidence. Really good.
Oh, it was outstanding, and that's the thing. A lot of people, I tried to get a lot more people into it, but they were hesitant because I hadn't done many of them. And I'd sit there and I'd give them something to make sure that they covered, like just a printout, which they could carry around with them. So if they did do it, make sure you cover these points because this is important. But the rest of it, just go through it. But once you've done it, probably 10 or 12 times, it just comes second nature.
Yeah.
You run through. It's like advocate. I never thought about advocate apart from the first year I started in the police. I'd
Yeah.
completely forgotten about the acronym.
But you find yourself sort of doing it anyway.
You do,
Like you
yeah,
sort of,
exactly.
okay, so you said you saw this guy. How far away at the time were you? Was there anything between you and the person, blah, blah, blah? Yeah, you get it. Do you know this person at all? No, never seen before. You sort of cover all that in your general
You do.
questioning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it just becomes second nature.
Yeah.
Because you do so many of them. I mean, literally, mate, like both of us would have taken thousands upon thousands of statements
Thousands.
in our career,
Yeah.
and that's not stretching it by any stretch of the imagination. That's for sure.
No.
And look, mate, I know I will harp on a bit more about those video statements. They were just outstanding. They're quicker. They're better evidence. The defence can't say that you put words in their head or in their mind. You didn't lead a witness and all that sort of stuff. It just clears all that discrepancy. So it gives defence less stuff to try and throw at you.
Yeah. It's really solid evidence. It's
It is.
excellent. Basically, it's completely honest. It is. Here's what I asked. Here's the conversation on video.
Yeah, that's right.
You tell me. So yeah, it
Yeah,
was.
and also be happy to put in there. Obviously you speak to them before you start recording. Body worn has taken that away, I know. But in those instances, sit there and go, we've had a conversation beforehand, and this is what I said to you. Do you confirm that's correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Have I told you any further information? No. Okay. And then you
Yeah.
start off, and that clears anything beforehand as well. So you always try and cover your ass, especially with defence lawyers, because they will pick up anything.
Oh yeah, and sorry, one other thing with video, and this seems obvious, but it can be a little bit subtle, is that you can make non-verbal judgments of a person who's providing evidence on a video. So there's non-verbal things. It's not just their words they're saying. You can their believability or their what's the word? Their
reliability.
Their reliability, their believability, all that sort of thing is on display. So, it's straight away you can look at that person and go, yeah, no, I believe that. And a jury will look at that video and go, yeah, no, that looks legit to me. So, especially a statement from someone who's been assaulted and it's happened 20 minutes ago and they're telling you the story and they're still bleeding. Or, you provided first aid first. Let's not go mad, but they've got injuries, but they're happy to talk to you.
Yep.
So that evidence is as fresh as it gets. You can't dispute that evidence. So it was certainly the best way we found to get that evidence, get that interpersonal evidence.
Oh yeah, definitely. And look, a lot of the time, and it's experience. I mean, police are always known as expert witnesses because we do it all the time. Not every police officer. I've known some to miss the point, but and in court sometimes you get hammered. But we can probably talk about that another time. You've just got to keep your cool and just stick to the story. That's all it is.
That's it.
The evidence.
Just provide your evidence.
Yeah.
But it's mate. I want to know. I'd be really keen to hear because we're getting dinosaurish. I'm 4 years out of the job now, so I want to hear from current serving coppers. Let us know. Do you do a lot more on body worn? Is it still type statements? Let us know how you do it now. Because we'd love to have a yarn about that. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean that's exactly right. Because I mean the whole world's changed. It's amazing how quickly it actually evolved. I think when we first started, mate, our cautions were taken on a handheld tape recorder.
They were, yeah. They were a cassette. Yeah, the old Section 140 court. So that's just a part of legislation that's a requirement for somebody arrested. They basically have to be given that caution, and a caution is where you don't have to say anything. Anything that you do say can be recorded and used against you in evidence. That's a caution. The second part of that was basically, do you wish to contact anyone and let them know that you're in custody? So that little requirement there were two parts to that requirement for a Section 140 caution, and that had to be done for every single arrest, and we used to always record them on a little cassette tape because it had to be audio or video recorded. Whereas now it's all just done on body worn. You just do it straight away on body worn camera, and the Section 140's there. So, whereas back in the day it was all it was a formal little process. You go down to the watch house and record that on the tape recorder in the watch house, and then take the tape and write on it, and then keep that in your locker with the other 1,000 bloody tapes that were sitting in there. And you just have to be able to produce
the amount of tapes they must have gone through in the police would have been phenomenal. We used to have stacks of them in our lockers.
Yeah, but also by then those little old magnetic cassette tapes from the 80s, they were starting to get bloody hard to get hold of.
Yeah.
So the police, out of sheer requirement, had to move with the times and move on because you simply couldn't get the tape anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything was, and then it all went to digital video recording as well, and yeah.
Yeah, well, I think when I went to a family domestic violence unit, I got the digital one. It's just so much better.
Oh, God, it's chalk and cheese. Well, it was like New Beauty. It's not 1987 anymore, is it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then I just started using my phone especially once iPhones came out. It was a piece of piss. Yeah. Before that, I actually used to buy my own just video one that I could wear. I probably started a lot of the body worn myself because I used to have a little camera on me all the time just in case something came up or needed to take a video statement or something like that, which they were very good at. So I used to actually look up what the best stuff you could buy and get that sort of thing.
Well, I remember to this day I've still got them. In SED, so the Substance Abuse Intelligence Desk, the little drug squad out of Catherine, all of us carried a little Sony Bloggy with us. No, back in the day, we're talking old school. It was literally just a little digital video recorder. It might cost $150 or whatever it was, and it was magic. And it had a little USB hook. You could plug it into the computer and basically download it like that. And we're talking 10, 15 years ago. That was excellent technology at the time. Yeah, and it was cutting edge at the time.
Yeah, mate. I've actually still got some of mine. I'll put a post up one of these days when I go through it all and find.
Oh yeah, an old statement taken or something. Yeah. That's a pretty good rundown on statements.
Mate, I think so. I think the only thing you probably missed out, and you're the best one because you're trained in it, was child forensic interviews.
Yeah, child forensic interviewing. So. Yeah. I'll just go over it quickly. So child forensic interviewing is nothing more than taking a statement from a child, but the whole idea of a child is they're considered a vulnerable witness, which also sexual assault victims are quite often considered as well. But as a child, there's a few lawful requirements to provide that evidence to court. And basically what we would do we would provide the cross-examination within the way we interviewed the child witness or victim, in order to present that evidence as appropriately as possible. And a few requirements were things like we'd have to get them at the beginning to understand that they must tell the truth and to demonstrate that the child understands that what they're saying is true and that they can't say anything that's not true. And then it was basically no different to taking a statement off anybody. It was just that you had to really go through that TEDS process. Tell me, explain, describe me, show me. Something with child forensic interviewing I used to say is, you got to remember, I wasn't there, but I need you to explain that so I know exactly what happened. So you need to make a little movie in my head, but you have to make that movie with your words. So I need you to use as many words as you can to explain to me so I can see it in my brain exactly what happened. And kids understood that really well. Like, people underestimate kids. I've had some kids explain stuff to me and just go, oh my God, that's sensational evidence.
Yeah.
You've also really got to build rapport with kids. Like, kids will just close off and not talk to you because they're just nervous, they're shy. So it might be that you've got to build a bit of rapport beforehand. However you do that is, what you need to do. It'll be a case-by-case basis. You've also got to understand that sometimes you're going to fail. You're not always going to get everything across.
Yep.
The kid is simply sometimes not going to be capable of providing that evidence, but you need to show that you've done everything in your ability and your power to get that information from those kids. So, it's not a traumatic process, quite the opposite. It's actually, quite often kids will laugh during a CFI because one of the things we tell kids is that you can use any words you need to. So if you need to say a swear word, you can't get in trouble. And that was actually another really important part at the beginning was, now I'm a policeman and I'm asking you questions about something, but I need you to know that you can't get in trouble. There's nothing you can tell me that will get you into trouble. What I need from you, I'm a big, safe person that is not going to get you into trouble in any way. So you can use whatever words. If you were doing something that your mum and dad that weren't going to allow, you can tell me, that's fine. You're not going to get in any trouble for anything you say to me because I needed the evidence from them. All of us, that's the whole idea, is that we're not interested in them being, naughty. We're interested in proving things in court. So you have to explain that in such a way. And it's almost like you'd be fun with them. And all of a sudden the kids will it's amazing how kids can read your body language and trust you and know that you're there to help them. And then they bloody tell you everything. And, wild. Actually, it's a little bit rough for those listening, but I mean, those listening along have been listening to us long enough. But we had a little girl. It wasn't actually my interview, but we were reviewing it. And anyway, it was to do with the child sex matters. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but basically, they were going through that detailed process where you're trying to get the information about a sexual act that happened on this child. And the little girl stood up and pulled her skirt up and dropped her strides and pointed directly to where it happened. So the evidence was, and the guys, the two girls who were doing the interview went, "Oh, okay, yep, no problem. Now put that away, no worries." And it's like that's a horrible thing. But the fact of the matter was, the kid was so comfortable with those two detectives that she was willing to bloody. This is what happened. Like you just said to me. It's so basically you build such a good rapport that the kids get so comfortable that they're willing to really be honest with you and really get that information across. So,
and look, having a rapport with your witnesses is so important. It's basically and spend time. If you need to spend a bit of time, don't try and rush through it, especially for your bigger cases, because they'll tell you a lot more if they feel comfortable. So, mate,
and this goes back to my old reason, mate, as to why I don't necessarily like coppers being authoritarian, dictators and all the rest of it, because the whole idea is a lot of the time you're relying on people to provide evidence to put a proper bad bastard in jail. And this used to come back. I know you joke about it a bit, but we used to have to jump the hurdles of overzealous policing, especially around traffic, that would have people not trust cops. and straight away we'd have to break through all those barriers in order to extract really good information from people. And it all came down to their distrust of police from prior experience. And that's why you got to remember our job, we are just vehicles. We just literally hunt down criminals and gather evidence.
Yeah.
You got to remember that you represent a badge. It's not you. It's just be professional. Do the right thing. Certainly go hard when you have to go hard. Never put yourself in danger. Use force when you have to use force. But just when you can back it off, back it off. Always start at the lowest level and work your way up. It's impossible to start high and work backwards. But you can start low and work up. No worries at all.
Yeah, no, that's right. It is so important, and it makes it so much easier, especially for detectives and all that, when they need to get a lot of information and getting people to talk. The trust issue is a big thing, and mate, I think every police officer can actually talk about how many hurdles they had to jump sometimes to get people to trust them. So,
why would I tell you pricks anything? It was like,
that's right.
An obstacle here.
Mate, I'm going to actually ask you a quick question. Now, this is obviously off the topic, unless you want to say any more in relation to statements.
No, all good. Yeah.
Well, mate, have you tried any of Camo's sauce yet? Camo sauce.
I bloody haven't yet, because I haven't done a big low slow cook since I got it. It's been a hell of a last end of the year and a ridiculous start to 2026. So, mate, I haven't yet. I've got them all sitting there. I'm killing a beast this week, so I'm going to have heaps of beef, and I've got I'll get a couple of chucks and a couple of brisket roasts out of that, and I will dead set have a red hot crack at it, and we'll let Big Camo know how they went.
Oh yeah, mate, I'm on my second order now.
Perfect.
I've already gone through.
No, I've just been busy. It's been a hectic live. I haven't had time to have a big low slow barbecue day yet, but maybe you need to come south, mate. Come down, and we'll once we get this brisket, once we get this steer in the freezer, we might get you down, mate. We'll have to do a big old slow cook.
Oh, mate, definitely. Well, you had me at hello.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah, mate, love it. Yeah, mate. So, and also, I'm just going to clear up, mate. I actually said, I think I said he was in corrections, and that was my mistake. He did 15 years in Queensland Fire and Rescue, and 5 years as a paramedic in WA. And so we will probably get him on at some stage. We've got a lot of people coming on. Hopefully, we're going to record for Friday. We will have Rebecca, who's in charge of basically the Australasian police games, which is going to be in October. So hopefully that'll be Friday's episode, as long as everything works out. But it's all set in place now. So you will get one tomorrow. This one's coming out, of course, on Tuesday, and then the next one will be back on Friday. Now we're back and organised again after all.
We're back into it, mate. The great northeast New South Wales infirmary is finally starting to improve a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
But no, all is well.
I can tell you actually the internet's slightly faster than what it was when I was over in New Zealand.
Good to hear.
That last spot, that was There was half the time there I didn't actually know what Damo was saying, and he'd just come back again. So, but it seemed to work out all right.
Yeah, probably better off not listening to me anyway.
Yeah. But,
that'll do us, I think. So, that's just a rundown on statements. I know we've covered a lot of that before, but it's always good just to really focus in on one particular area.
Yeah.
So, and once again, I just want to reiterate to any current serving members, get in touch anonymously. We're not going to mention your name if you don't want us to, and just let us know the current thing, especially with the body worn rollout across the country.
Yeah.
Let us know if that's how you're doing statements now, because I don't know. I know it was starting when I left, but there was a bit of a gap there about what you couldn't do. So let us know. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I would have actually loved to have body worn back in the day to be able to do that. So, that's for sure. Anyway, mate, I reckon that'll probably do us. What do you reckon?
All done, mate. See you next week.
All right, we'll see you then.